I think it's safe to say that Tom Brady has had quite the last few years. In 20 years in New England, Brady played in 9 Super Bowls and won 6 of them. He decided to move on from the Pats and join the Buccaneers, where in his first season, Brady won his 7th ring. After last year, he decided to retire. But yeah, that only lasted about a month. Now he's back for maybe one last ride. But so far, there's nothing but drama circulating him. I mean, I guess that's just what happens when you disappear off of the face of the earth for over a week, have a story break about how you nearly went to the Raiders, and have a team getting punished for tampering with you for years. Tom Brady has made plenty of recent headlines because, well, he kind of just disappeared. Brady fell off the face of the earth for 11 days, and it was all chalked up to personal reasons. Of course, when you just disappear and when your name is quite literally Tom Brady, speculation is going to go crazy. People are wondering if he was reconsidering coming back to the NFL, or even if he was filming a Masked Singer episode. Reportedly, it was none of the above, and simply just a trip with his family to the Bahamas. It's been a big story, but honestly, it was probably nothing. Like, Brady did retire at one point this past offseason, so he might have just planned a vacation months ago thinking he'd be free in August. It also seemed like it wasn't some big surprise either. Todd Bowles said it had been a thing that they had talked about and planned. I don't really think it's that big of a deal, but it was kind of funny to see some conspiracy theories out there, especially because there are a lot of interesting things going on around Tom Brady. We recently learned that Brady was almost a Raider. So the Gronkowski family hosted an alternate telecast for UFC 278, and Dana White, the UFC president, was convinced by Rob Gronkowski to tell the story of how White helped broker a deal for Brady to join the Raiders. But it turns out that John Gruden turned it down at the last minute. Apparently, it was supposed to be Brady and Gronk going to Las Vegas, and Brady was even looking at houses at one point. Adam Schefter even reported back in 2020 when Brady was a free agent that the Raiders were going to make a run at him. Now, obviously, it all fell apart because of Gruden, and Gronk even said that he was glad that it didn't go through and that everything worked out for the best. What's wild about all of this is that this actually answers a question from back in 2021. Brady went on The Shop and ended up criticizing a team that decided to stick with their guy instead of him in free agency. Brady even said,
"You're sticking with that motherfucker? Are you serious?"
Brady talked about how there was a story in free agency and one of the teams were interested until all of a sudden they just weren't. At the time, there were essentially 4 teams everyone figured it could be: the Titans, 49ers, Bears, or Raiders. Sounds like that's the writing on the wall that Brady was talking about Derek Carr, and honestly, it's hard to blame Las Vegas for wanting to stick with Carr. For one, Brady really needed to go to a team that was ready to win, and the Buccaneers just fit that, but Las Vegas needed some more time. Tampa Bay just made more sense overall. Plus, Carr is only 31 years old and is actually a pretty damn good quarterback. Why would you dump off your then 29-year-old quarterback for a then 43-year-old that may be on his last leg if your team likely wasn't good enough to win anyways? I think the Raiders made the right move, and safe to say that things have kind of worked out pretty well with Devontae Adams there now, and we'll see how Josh McDaniels fares. Remember, this isn't even the first big controversy surrounding Tom Brady this offseason. People seem to forget that Tom Brady was almost a Miami Dolphin. Miami very clearly tampered and lost draft picks because of it. ESPN's Jeff Darlington said the Dolphins were in contact with Brady in both 2019 and 2020 while he was in New England, and in 2021 when he was in Tampa Bay. Miami was going to have him join the franchise as a minority owner and the starting quarterback, but that wasn't it. The Dolphins also tampered with Sean Payton when he was in New Orleans, which isn't too surprising. If Drew Brees would have retired after 2020, I'd be willing to bet that Brady would have been a Saint. Clearly, this was a big deal. A lot of things in the NFL get swept under the rug, but this wasn't one of them. The Dolphins lost 2 picks, and one was a first-round pick in 2023. Plus, owner Stephen Ross was fined and suspended. There's no doubt that it did violate the integrity of the game, and while it's not really Brady's problem or his fault for that matter, it's just another crazy Tom Brady recruitment story. But it's safe to say that he's happy in Tampa Bay. Back in 2020, when Tom Brady was looking for his new home, he landed on Tampa Bay, joining Bruce Arians and a pretty stacked roster. Of course, it went looking great. Tampa went 11-5 and made the playoffs as a wild card before just running through the postseason and beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, giving Brady his 7th ring. Plus, Brady was amazing, and he has been for both the years he's been with the Buccaneers. He threw for over 4,600 yards and 40 touchdowns to 12 interceptions in 2020. Then, last year, Brady led the league with 5,316 yards and 43 touchdowns while only throwing 12 picks again. Unfortunately, the Buccaneers lost in the divisional round to the eventual Super Bowl champions, the Rams. At the time, we wondered if that was going to be the last time we ever saw Tom Brady play the game, and those concerns were validated when he retired on February 1st. Yeah, that retirement only ended up lasting 40 days. Sounds like Brady went home and spent some time with his wife and kids and then just decided, nah, this isn't for me. Tom Brady, even at 45 years old, is viewed as one of the best players in the league. In fact, he was just ranked as the best player in the league on the NFL Top 100 Players list of 2022. And by the way, he did that at 45 years old. He's still viewed as the best player in the league, and why not? He literally almost won the MVP in 2021 if it weren't for Aaron Rodgers. The NFL Top 100 Players list began after the 2010 season, and can you guess who was the best ranked player when that came out? That's right, Tom frickin' Brady. He was first again for both 2017 and 2018, and now, over a decade after he was number one when the list was created, he's number one for the 4th time at 45 years old. That's just pure insanity, and we need to seriously appreciate just how good Tom Brady is. And luckily, we get to for another season, and who knows, maybe he gets his 8th ring, because he's got the talent around him to do so. We've already seen Tom Brady recruit some absolute studs to play with him in Tampa Bay, like Rob Gronkowski and Antonio Brown. And this offseason, he was right back at it, getting Julio Jones to join the Buccaneers. Julio is in a really weird spot in his career. He spent 10 years with the Falcons and was absolutely incredible. Julio was an All-Pro 5 times and made the Pro Bowl 7 times. But once he was unhappy with the Falcons' new front office in 2021, he was traded to the Titans. He only played 1 year in Tennessee, recording 434 yards and a single touchdown. Julio ended up getting released after the season, and he's going to be a very intriguing player to watch this year. I mean, anyone that's catching passes from Brady is automatically interesting, especially if they're as good as Mike Evans. You might call me crazy, but I'm gonna stand by this. There's a serious chance that Mike Evans is the most underrated player in the league. Evans has been in the league for 8 years and has never had less than 1,000 yards in a season. That's insane. Yet somehow he still gets widely overlooked, and maybe it's just because the Buccaneers have so many beasts on that roster, like Chris Godwin too. Godwin had over 1,100 yards last year, and in 2019 recorded over 1,300 yards and found the end zone 9 times. He got his bag this offseason, a 3-year, $60 million deal. For the most part, this is the same Buccaneers team that has been really, really good for the last 2 years. But there is one huge difference that, honestly, I just keep forgetting about though. Bruce Arians is no longer the head coach. He's now a senior football consultant for the team, and the head coaching duties got passed on to Todd Bowles. Bowles was the defensive coordinator, and he's actually been a head coach before. He coached for the Jets from 2015 to 2018 and went 24-40 over the span. As you can tell, it didn't really go that great. But I have a feeling that it's going to go much better this time around, and that's because of one guy, Tom Brady. As long as Tom Brady stays in Tampa Bay, you have to view them as Super Bowl contenders, because time and time again, Brady's continued to prove everybody wrong. Tom Brady is an absolute pleasure to watch, and remember that every time you see him walk on the field this season, because who knows, this could be Tom Brady's last dance.